Like I was just, wherever I could, just basically adding queerness. No one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
In part, I think nobody stopped us because we were targeting Gen Z and millennials.
They're intentionally going after children.
Like, I love Disney's content. I grew up watching, all of the classics.
I mean, I think it's time for us as Christian parents to take inventory. I mean, don't just sit back and assume that all the things that were okay when you were a child is still okay.
I'm here as a mother of 2 queer children, actually, 1 transgender child and 1 pansexual child, and also as a leader. I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them.
She is relishing. She is joyous of the fact I raised a pan child. I raised a trans child. Man, in any other generation, she would have been arrested.
Yeah, a child. You're not talking about an adult. Abuse. And a child.
It's child abuse.
We provided training for all of our cast members in relationship to that.
As my son texted me this morning, Gen Z is 30 to 40% queer than the other generation's mom, so Disney better get with it.
All right, so let's kick off this roundtable talk. Let's just ask a quick question. What is your favorite Disney movie growing up? Anybody got one? We all got one.
I mean, I kind of grew up knowing about Mickey Mouse and Cinderella and Aladdin and all those. I didn't really feast on it or watch it a lot, being back home. But yeah, I mean, I was familiar with it. What about you?
It'd be Aladdin. I watched Aladdin backwards and forward multiple times. 80s baby, so for me, Aladdin was it.
Yeah.
I really didn't have a favorite Disney movie growing up.
Okay.
I did watch Aladdin, but that was later.
Okay. So I think most of us who are parents today have some type of Aladdin or type movie that we love the most. Beauty and the Beast was also on my list. But those movies were back then. And Disney has shifted a lot. They're doing the same type of plan, but shifted a lot in how they're doing it today. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is how Disney has moved from what they maybe have been perceived this wholesome company, family company that has put out ideas and concepts for the entire family to enjoy, to today, just recently, how they have blatantly and openly let it be known that they have a specific goal, a specific vision, and a specific passion that every Christian parent should be paying attention to. And it's not just Disney, but we're going to talk about Disney today because it's recent. It's other media networks are doing the same thing. They just haven't blatantly had their CEO sit down and say, hey, we're going to do this now going forward. So we're going to discuss this and see how this is something that every Christian parent should be talking about. So just recently, Florida had passed a bill. Governor DeSantis signed a bill into law called the Parental Rights and Education Bill. And that bill was essentially protecting children, protecting parents from any outside influences in the public education system, from teachers, principals, whoever it may be, counselors, that there's nothing that you can do with that child that the parent shouldn't be knowing. There's no emotional status updates, no health concerns, nothing that got to do with anything that child is not being held from the parents. That's all the bill is really about. And inside that bill, they also said that there should be no discussion from pre-K to 3rd grade about sexual orientation and gender identity. That's all the bill was about. Now, it got deemed and tagged a different name. And that different name spread throughout the entire media, in which basically tagged it something that it's really not about. But that's what the media does. So this bill was passed, and there was an outcry, uproar from Disney employees. Disney employees walked out the corporate building. They said, we're not standing for this. There's no way this bill should be passed in Florida. And that caused the CEO of Disney to respond. And it caused the entire company to have a meeting, come together and discuss what's going on. And that's what we're going to talk about, is this response from Disney that should kind of bring antennas up on Christian parents, because they are literally letting us know what they're about and what their agenda is in their media corporation.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're even having this discussion on sexual education being taught to our kindergartners and young kids. It's appalling that we're even having to have this discussion and this public debate about that, it's so sad. It's sad for our kids, and it's a lot of work for us as parents.
Yeah, it's extremely sad because in any environment, if an adult walks up to a child and starts to speak about their sexual identity, what they're doing in their marriage, coming out to any child, we consider that person a pervert, like in any environment, like anywhere. So why in a school system would that be something that somebody would be okay with? So Disney is saying, no, we support the fact that that should be occurring. We want that to happen. We want to fight back, you know, these evil Republicans and any Democrat that supports this. Anybody that supports this bill, we're going to stand with the LGBTQ community and say that this shouldn't be passed and it should be actually pulled back. This is what Disney is saying.
So what Disney is basically saying is, before, how pedophiles would groom a child, Disney is saying they're going to use their platform to now groom children.
Wow. Yeah.
Because that's basically what it is. They're grooming kids.
Yeah.
Because no 0 to 5-year-old needs to know anything about the stuff they're teaching on sex. It's just crazy. Like, why is it necessary for you to speak to a child about sexual activities, about transgenderism? A child doesn't even understand those things unless an adult proliferate those things in the mind of that child. And that's what Disney basically is seeking to do.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Let's look at the actual response that Disney gave on Twitter, their official response to this bill being passed. Let's look at that. Florida's HB 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, should never have passed and should never have been signed into law. Our goal as a company is for the law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts. And we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. We are dedicated to standing up for the rights and safety of LGBTQ plus members of the Disney family, as well as the LGBTQ plus community in Florida and across the country.
Wow. All right. So what they're basically saying is, we support LGBTQ, right, and their entire agenda, which is less than a percentage of the population. And so the 99, the 94, 99%, whatever the number may be of the population who attends Disney, they say, we don't care about what you think about it. We don't care about how you feel. And so you are catering now to this demographic, which apparently has demonstrated that they need mental help. And you're going to cater to that over the individuals who are actually supporting your company. And to say that what we're going to do is stand with this minority of individual who has a sexual perversion, and we're not going to stand with individuals who believe in actual family values. Well, you know what? Everyone should just stop going to Disney. Period.
Yeah, I mean, and it also says to us that they have decided that they don't care about children, that they have decided that they've taken a position and a stance against children.
Yes, you can imagine when Walter Disney started back in the 1920s that was in his mind to ruin the mindset of children. I'm sure that man is turning over in his grave right now. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's sad to where Disney was like an icon in the community for family values. Now, based on its leadership, they have taken a perverted turn towards the most immoral thing that we can possibly see. That is attacking the innocence of children.
And supporting the idea of wanting to attack the innocence. That is it's like we support and stand with the idea of attacking the minds and hearts of children because we want to stand with this community. And so Disney is basically letting us know everything we're going to do going forward, because he's also set up a task force. He said, we're going to set up a task force, the CEO of Disney.
That's their full-time job.
That is, and they have this guy that's assigned over the task force. And all this guy is going to do is make sure that everything that they touch and do is going to support the LGBT community going forward. And that nothing that they do will not cause or look like they're not supporting them. And so it's like, wait a minute, what about these children that don't need to be hearing these ideas and messages but coming from their parents? What about them? What about their innocence? What about, I mean, that's insane that's more important than understanding that parents should be the one. So in other words, Disney's against parents. They don't think parents should be.
Even more than that, though. Even more than that. Disney is against their shareholders and their bottom line. Because as some, now I don't have no shares or stock in Disney. If I did, I probably would have sold it. But for the individuals who bringing in the money, how is this profitable for your company? Because a business, your goal is the bottom line of your shareholders, your stakeholders, to make sure that you are bringing in the finances, right? So you're working on the best interests of your shareholders.
Right.
They're not doing that by doing this. They are catering to a political, basically, because that's what this LGBTQ plus agenda is. It's now a political ideology that comes from a satanic philosophy.
And what is more egregious than that is what that shows us is that money is no longer an issue for them. It's not even about the money. It's about they have an agenda that's higher than profit.
Yeah, well,
they have an agenda that's higher than profit.
Yeah.
What folks can do is test that analysis. Stop supporting Disney. Let's see how much they will continue down that. See, until it hits their bottom line, they're good with it. Yeah. But as soon as they see it actually has an adverse effect, their talks will change. Why? Because rich people like money. Period.
Yeah. So. You know what? The other thing that this makes me think about is, you know, where we started, which is what was your favorite Disney movie? And I think where we are with a lot of our parents right now is, and the reason we're doing this video is the fact that a lot of people are still in that mode from the 90s, thinking that Disney is still the family-friendly thing. Right. And so you do the cultural thing, right? Your kid, you grew up on Disney and it made you feel warm and fuzzy, you know? And so you think, okay, I have kids. Disney, of course, Disney kids, you know, of course, these movies. And so a lot of parents are not aware of the fact of how things have evolved and changed at Disney. So,
and families make plans around Disney because our first time we went to Disney, we literally went because we wanted the kids to have this family experience. Yeah. And then I promised one of the third child that when he gets a certain age and the younger child gets a certain age, that we would take them to Disney. Right. But then all of this stuff happened, and I'm like, kids, I'm sorry, can't do it. I can't take you to hell.
Can't do it.
I can't take because if they're proliferating these things in the leadership, imagine what the folks there in the costumes. Imagine what they're going to be. They'll have all sort of queer dresses, all sort of cross dresses, and then my kids going in the restrooms. No, I cannot support Disney in any way, form, or fashion anymore. I just can't.
Period. And so we're gonna listen to this video as well. So basically, the CEO had a meeting. They had a Zoom meeting basically, and in this Zoom meeting, executives, you're gonna hear an employee say what she feels she's able to do now because the Disney has now evolved and moved toward a certain direction. Let's listen to that.
It's like, I love Disney's content. I grew up watching, you know, all of the classics. They have been a huge, like, informative part of my life. But at the same time, like, I worked at small studios most of my career, and I'd heard, you know, you hear whispers. Like, I'd heard things like, oh, you know, they won't let you show this at a Disney show. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little, like, sus when I started. But then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard on my little pocket of, like, you know, proud family Disney TVA. The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and like our leadership over there has been so welcoming to like my like not at all secret gay agenda. And so like I feel like I felt like it was, I mean, like maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess like something must have happened in the last like they are turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that like momentum that I felt, like that sense of, I don't have to be afraid to like, let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background, like I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to like if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud family. But like, I just was like, no one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
Wow. Wow.
So she runs the Proud Family production for Disney Plus that just came back out. And so as you can see, she said not so secret gay agenda. That means that this is really something she really been trying to do for a while. And now it's like, I can really do it. I'm good. I can actually insert these things and it's going to be great. This is the people that are running Disney's production studios. This is just one of many. And this is the ideas and concepts that Disney is now saying we fully back. And we want these things in our...
Here's why this is so sinister, right? Here's why this is so sinister. Because Disney is known for wholesome family movies.
Right.
So parents who are trusting that when they want to leave their kids alone, right, to get some little downtime or whatever, and they put the device in front of them, they're believing, oh, Beauty and the Beast is just, another Disney movie. Well, Toy Story 3 is just another Disney movie.
Same classics.
And, so now they're going to be adding these subtle and sometimes just openly blatant messages in it to direct kids to this queer lifestyle. Yeah. And parents don't even know when they give their children these devices, what they're doing is they're telling their child, it's okay for you to believe this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Basically.
Wow.
And Disney's okay with the parents not knowing that they're doing that with their children. They're fine with that. They actually want it that way.
And the sad thing about it is when she started, she had some semblance of idea that Disney stood for something, that Disney represented morality.
Right.
Yes.
But, just like if you go to any job or any corporation working for them, you might have your own personal thoughts on things, but when you come into a culture, you're willing to kind of submit to that culture. But what she found when she got there was that the culture was willing to, like she said, no one would stop her and no one was trying to stop her. Yeah. And so she was just free to basically do whatever she wanted to do and to carry out her agenda for all of American children.
But that says something. That says something. It says that Disney had a culture before, and what she came into wasn't that culture that was there before.
Yeah,
so Disney didn't just happen to switch. Disney has been going down a slippery slope. From how is it that all these CEOs and producers and stuff have this mindset? It's because Disney was building that culture of immorality. Disney was building that culture of perversion. And now what we're seeing is the metastasis of it, how this thing has grown into that. But it didn't just start. It's like, this is not the first thing. They've been giving hints at us several years ago when they did the Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. The whole thing was to put a gay scene in there to make people see, so on and so forth.
Subtle.
And now they're going into the cartoons and going into Marvel movies and going into all these things. So,
and they actually said that they're going to go back into some of the movies that they did not put those things in because of an outcry, and they're going to, for example, Buzz Lightyear, they're going to go back and add the scenes in that they actually took out
because of this particular thing happening in Florida. They're like, we got to put that back.
But look at what they're doing. What they're doing is they're looking at the people who were supporting them, and I'm saying were. I'm one who is in the past tense, so I can say were. And now they're looking at these individuals and say, oh, it doesn't matter that you're spending money with us. It doesn't matter that it is you who are paying our bills. You will take our philosophy. You will take our ideology, and we will give this to you and your children. There's nothing you can do about it. Here's the crazy thing. If any parents stand back and accept, now watch this, they pay to watch a Disney movie. They pay for the Disney station. They pay to go to Disney World. So if you are supporting someone who's against your values, against your philosophy and your ideology, and then they're openly telling you this, then that's on you.
And the thing is, when we think about paying for something, I mean, like, I'm not paying for you to tell my kids something that's against my values. So all of us as Christian parents can stand up and say, look, this is my money. I'm not going to support that. I mean, there's more than enough media outlets for us to engage our kids than to have to do Disney just because it's been the cultural thing to do.
Right. Yeah. So do you mind if I take a little twist for a second, because it's interesting just how we're saying that, right? To stop looking at Disney and so forth. I see that as a part of the problem, that as parents, notice how we have built this dependency on a institution that is not godly in the first place. And we call this secular entertainment thing, we call that wholesome family. Now that it's showing its true colors, we're like, okay, Disney, what are you doing? they're doing what they've been doing. They're part of the world system.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we as Christians, we don't need to say, well, I'm standing up against this. No, let's just stop spending our money and let's be good stewards of what God has given us.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just Disney.
Right.
DC, all these corporations and entities that are now demonstrating to us, we hate your values because we hate your God.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line.
Period.
That's what I mean about them having more of an agenda that has nothing to do with profit, but it's the fact that they hate our God.
Yes,
and what are we going to do as Christian parents about that? Yeah.
I mean, like, what company you see would go against 95% of his revenue base?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because I am sure, I am 100% guaranteed they don't even have 5% of their base that are LGBTQ.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you have people from all around the world coming in with their children, and you're saying, we don't care about any value you may have because our ideology is superior. Accept this. And by the way, pay us to accept this.
And there's another video, isn't there?
Yeah. So there's another video of, in the same meeting, of a woman that is an administrator at Disney. And she's explaining, it's a really short video, but she's explaining why she's lamenting about what Disney has done and what they're going to do now going forward. I mean, she's talking about her own children. Let's listen to that real quick.
Company. When I was at Freeform, it was very much in the brand ethos of Freeform to be the tip of the spear when it comes to inclusion. And we, like you, LaToya, I mean, we jumped up and down. We celebrated that. Nobody stopped us. And it felt great. And in part, I think nobody stopped us because we were, we were targeting Gen Z and millennials. We were targeting a younger, I think more open-minded. And now we know, as my son texted me this morning, Gen Z is 30 to 40% queer than the other generation's mom. So Disney better get with it.
I mean, this is just straight up satanic at this point. This is just straight up satanic at this point. I mean, this woman is literally saying, we are targeting Gen Z. That's their target is children. To make them queer. She's literally saying it. And her child, she has already discipled her child into that.
Yeah. It's very specific. It's not we're just trying to get the message out there. No, it's very targeted, very specific. This is why we're talking about it.
And guess what? It's working because, as her son said, that how much percent did he say? 30%. I don't know if that's true. Gen Z or not, we don't know the fact, but it is true.
I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, because it's trending for them to do that.
It may be that it's trendy for them to accept it. But I don't know they necessarily are or whatever.
Right. Not necessarily are, but more open-minded.
That's what he was saying. That's what he was saying.
And even that a generation ago was unheard of. Was unheard of. Something has happened in this generation where our children have become now, this is the outpour of the generation before. That parent, that negligent parent, that woman who should be thrown in jail, who just spoke of her agenda for our children. Notice, she already messed up her child. Her goal now is to get all of the children around her. And so, watch this now. This is literally, as I mentioned before, grooming.
Exactly.
This is open grooming and trying to train, trying to disciple the next generation to be a queer generation.
If not queer, open to it, accepting to it, wanting more of it.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. And that was the thing that really got me, because I have heard so much from so many of my colleagues over the course of the last couple of weeks in open forums and through emails and phone conversations. And I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them. to all of us. We had an open forum last week at 20th where, again, the home of really incredible, groundbreaking LGBTQIA stories over the years, where one of our execs stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? That can't be true. And I realized, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters and not have to be about gay stories. And so that's been very eye-opening for me. And I can tell you, it's something that I feel perhaps had this moment not happened, I as a leader and me as my colleagues would not have focused on. And going forward, I certainly will be more so. I know that we will be. And I hope this is a moment where, the 50% of the tears, sorry, are coming. We just don't allow each other to go backwards. So
this admin is saying that 50% of their lead characters need to be LGBTQIA characters. So that way there's a representation. And she was shocked that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Shocked. What? 50%?
This is so sad.
Yeah, it's extremely sad. And again, we're peering into the minds of the people who run these shows and these movies and things are being put out specifically for children. Mm-hmm. These are the mindsets they have.
Man,
it is. What is most sad? She is relishing. She is joyous of the fact I raised a pan child. What's a pan child?
Pansexual, yeah.
What in the world? I raised a trans child. Yeah. I'm like, and she's joyous. If, man, in any other generation, she would have been arrested.
Yeah, a child. Not talking about an adult. Abuse. And a child.
It's child abuse. Yeah. But look at what we have. Oh my God, God, please. Well, look at what's happening now. This is crazy. Yeah. This is crazy that we're sitting here literally talking about a mother. Destroying the mind of her children, calling one pan, calling one trans, allowing them to live out a viewpoint that goes against science, that goes against reality,
purpose, everything.
It's like they're living a lie. Yeah. You can't choose to be something.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
And so the question is, as Christian parents, what are we going to do? What are we gonna?
I need to calm down.
Yes, please calm down. But no, actually, there should be a righteous indignation that rises up in us when we see this, because our heart should cry out for the next generation. The Lord has given us our children to steward and to shepherd their hearts, and how the Holy Spirit must be grieved to have these children be turned away from Him in such a terrible way,
See, there needs to be an awakening in our homes. There needs to be an awakening in Christian families. For too long, we have been on the defense, waiting for something to happen and then responding. Right. As Christian parents, we are told to train up our children in the way that they should go, so that when they're old, they'll not depart from it. Now, what most people don't understand is Solomon have no expectation that that child will go out into the world, experience the world, and then come back. As I hear some people say, no, the expectation, as he stated in chapter 1 of the proverb, is that the child is receiving the fear of the Lord. And the fear of the Lord is giving him wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And through this wisdom, he's being guided. So when you're teaching him the fear of the Lord, when you're teaching him that he's made in the image of God, when you're teaching him the things of God, it says, as he grows in this will sustain him. He will not depart from this. The thing is, she's literally training her children to disavow God, that there is no God, that you can be whatever you want to be. And the thing is, it is based on a perversion of her mind, the knowledge she has absent of God.
And then she wants to proselytize other children.
Yes, and then she wants
other people's children,
people's
which is
children.
to me, that's where the righteousness and nature coming from me. You can do what you want to your children because that's where your mindset is. That's your home. When you are intentionally wanting to go into other people's children's home, other people's children's minds, and say, "This is the way you should think, child." You should embrace this. You should approve this, and in doing so, you'll be better off. When really it's a utter lie. You're actually going to be destroying yourself. So I think that Christian parents need to jump on board, like you said, be on the offense. There is a spirit of deception that's going out into the world subtly through media corporations and subtly through different type of avenues that children are in, but parents aren't paying attention to. So the Christian parents have to think, okay, there's things out there that are trying to infiltrate my child's mind. There are media networks that are trying to change what I teach them about God. And you have to be ready to defend that.
But that's the problem, though. Christian parents aren't parenting.
That's literally
they're not thinking about it. It's like they're giving over their child to the school system. They're giving their child over to the entertainment system. They're giving it's like they're giving their children over. We are giving our children over, not fundamentally understanding that. Wait a minute. When I allow them to engage in this type of thing, I am basically condoning that thing. When I give them over to this subtle and not so subtle way of thinking, I am basically pulling them away from the things of God. And so Christians need to sit back and think, you know what? Why do we watch Disney anyway? Why do we watch these networks? Because it's not the child. The child saw that network from somewhere. It's the parent who put the device in front of the child. It's the parent who gives the okay for the child to watch something. So why not put down Disney and pick up Pure Flix? Why not put down Netflix and pick up Right Now Media? Why? Because we want a certain type of entertainment, and because we have programmed ourselves with filth, it's now okay for our kids to watch filth.
This morning in my devotions, I was reading Daniel, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and how Nebuchadnezzar came in and he said, bring them and let them eat of my choice meats. And, as you know the story, they said, no, we don't want to eat of the king's choice meat. And they made that decision for themselves. But as I was just thinking of it from the perspective of this conversation and thinking, as parents, what are we allowing our kids to eat from? Are we giving them the pagan king's meat and choice products that they say that our children should watch when they're kids, So, everybody says, oh, yes, you of course, you're an American kid. You have to watch Disney. This is what you do, you know? And so are we like Daniel and his friends saying, no, we won't take of the king's choice meats, but we will serve our God. We will put that away and we will serve our God, That is awesome.
So. I love that story. Daniel is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. I have about 66 favorite stories in the Bible. But Daniel is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. The whole idea, what we need to see with that is the effect of good parenting. Notice, Daniel, those were taken captive and placed into a country they didn't know, a land they didn't know, customs and traditions they didn't know, but they kept the God that they knew. And in the midst of it, when peer pressure came around them, accept my queerness, accept my gayness, then no. We won't accept this. What we will do is we will do what God has called us to do. We are made in this. And of course, I am, elaborating just to make a point on the story of Daniel because it was about food. But he also, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they did not bow down to the culture as we see in Daniel chapter 3. But in Daniel chapter 1, this 16, 17-year-old young boy, he was able to stand up to a government. He literally said, no, I won't do this. And so it demonstrated that his parents taught him something that he didn't walk away from. But even more than that, it also shows us this. Notice how it only speaks of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those four, and they were praying. But thousands of young men were taken. What happened to the rest of them?
Wow, that's a small number for thousands.
What happened to the rest of them?
They all conform.
They conform.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
Right.
We're seeing the church has become so busy about exciting youth programs and field trips and all these things. But discipleship is a word they use, but don't understand. Discipleship is when they leave a building and they go home.
Right.
Because where did Jesus disciple his disciples? On the side of the road where he was sleeping. In that boat where he was sleeping, right there under that tree where he was sleeping, on that mountain where there was, he was living with them and instructing them on a daily basis in the things of God. And we are not doing that with our children.
And it's showing.
Yeah.
It's showing. The next generation of children or kids that are in youth ministry and children's ministry are going to church on a Sunday to Sunday basis. The foundation is shaky because, like you said, they're in the culture and the culture is shaping and forming them, but the parents are kind of sitting to the side and letting that happen. So we're stepping up and we're saying, disciple life now, because right now, this is just one of the things that is happening out there right now. And you know for a fact that it's happening because the CEO and the people who run the company tell you it's happening.
Yeah.
But there's multiple things that the CEO and the people who run the company are not saying they're doing it, but they're doing it anyway. Therefore, as we're saying, we must be on the offense. We must be prepared to disciple our children intentionally, day in and day out. Walk with them through life. If you're not engaging with them in conversation about what they're watching, you should be. If you're not starting with your child at 3, don't wait till they're 9 and 10 to start discipling. Start at 3. Show them the small things. Show them the gospel. Show them who Christ is. And let them understand the values that God has placed in the scripture. And as they go, they'll understand them better. That's what we need to be doing right now. A lot of Christian parents are intimidated. They think that, I don't want to tell them too much too early or they don't understand. No, they do.
No, some of the stuff is so easy though. See, just like how they stop and put Nickelodeon in front of their child, put Disney in front of their child, they put it right now media in front of their child.
They don't know the difference. They don't watch it and they don't like it.
Yes. and watch this. If your child grows watching wholesome entertainment, then that will shape their minds. Just how Disney is trying. See, they know that they can shape the mind of children.
Right.
And when they shape that mind, they change that generation. And so now they have society, right? Because they will be the next senators and lawyers and congressmen to make the bills and make the laws. And they know this. This is why they're intentionally going after children.
Intentionally
going after children, not their parents, children.
So, I think it's time for us as Christian parents to take inventory. Don't just sit back and assume that all the things that were okay when you were a child is still okay. Go back, look at what they're doing, sit down with your child, see what is it, analyze what content and what is the underlying plot and themes that are being portrayed to your children, and decide, are we going to take a stand for righteousness? Are we going to take a stand and protect the hearts of our children so that they can grow to love God? And so we have to do this. We have to get in. We have to be active parents. We can't be passive, anymore in this culture
at all.
So I would say that it's inventory time. All right, so a couple of quotes, anonymous, that we found online. Anyone who tries to make a distinction between education and entertainment doesn't know the first thing about either. Yeah, ponder on that for a second. The next one is entertainment and learning are not opposites. Entertainment may be the most effective mode of learning. That's true.
Every video on YouTube right now that's educational for kids is entertaining, and they learn. Whatever they're getting is some kind of entertainment form, and it's effective. It works.
It's very effective. Think about when your kids go to school and you ask them to tell you what they learned in English class or math class, and then you ask them about Aladdin or any of those shows from Disney. They know all the intricacies of everything, which is the other reason why I'm like, you cannot sit back as a Christian parent and say they're too young to understand the deep things of God, because if they can understand the deep things of the culture, they can definitely understand the deep things of God.
Absolutely. So let's give some practical tips on how we can go forward discipling our children. Let's just go ahead and drop one.
I would say that I am so empathetic to Christian parents right now because it is hard. It is difficult to disciple our kids in this culture, this present day culture. And so my first thought on that is pray, and pray a lot. Pray and ask the Lord for discernment, because it's the evil in our culture is so ubiquitous that it just feels like it's very difficult to catch it before it's upon you already. And so my advice would be really to be on your knees, to pray, to ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the things that are in your home that might be infiltrating your child's heart and mind. I would definitely say it's time to take inventory. So after you have prayed and asked the Lord for discernment, then start taking stock of what's coming in your home from a media perspective. Don't discount anything that you've always done and say it's okay. Go back and relook at it based on the Word of God and see, is this lining up with Scripture? And what is this teaching my child about who God is and about how God expects him to see the world?
Awesome. I would agree with that. That praying is the most fundamental thing that we can do, is essential to everything we do as Christian parents. I would also add that we should take discipleship intentionally. Yeah. We should, discipleship isn't a default, right? We need to be intentional about it, because if we don't intentionally disciple our children, the culture is intentionally discipling our children. Absolutely. That's what Disney's trying to do. Absolutely. They're intentionally trying to disciple our children. So if we don't intentionally sit down at the dinner table and tell them about God when they wake up in the morning, tell them about God when they're walking along the street, tell them about God when they sit down and when they lie down to go to bed at night. If we're not intentionally telling them about the things of God, that they should love God with all their heart, soul, and strength, if they're not seeing that in our lives, then we are discipling them by default in the culture, because we're not discipling them in the things of God. So I think that parents should be praying, but we should also be intentional about the things that we do. And to what you said earlier about the empathy as well. This is hard for all of us. It's hard for you. It's hard for me. It's hard for you, John. I mean, it's hard for all of us as we seek to parent. And so it's not like we're saying this in isolation, like we have something perfected and we're not going through the same struggles. No, we're going through the exact same struggles and problems that everyone is going through, but we're making willful decisions. And we want to encourage everyone to make willful decisions to be obedient to the Word of God.
Absolutely. That's good. Yeah, and my tip just kind of piggybacks off what you just said, and that's just, how does that intentional engagement look like? One of the ways we can do that is by engaging your children or your teenager in conversation. What is it that's going on in their world? Get inside their world for a minute. When you get home from work, y'all sitting at the dinner table. Hey, what happened with you today? Who did you talk to today? What happened good today? What's something bad happened today? What did you what's something that you like that happened today? Just give them the opportunity to share with you what's going on in their world. And now when you hear what's going on, when you listen, don't interrupt, just listen. Now you can reply back with something that's biblical and foundational that they can grasp from something that they dealt with that day. And so now that little conversation, now they know they can trust you. I can talk to my dad, I can talk to my mom, and they're going to listen and hear what I have to say without, interrupting me. And then after that, they're going to give me something I can use to go back with in whatever that situation was in my life. And just use the scripture, give them proverbs, give them wisdom, give them something they can use and take back with them in their daily activities. So I think that's one of the ways we can disciple our children.
Yeah, that's good. Well, this was a great conversation.
It was. It was awesome. It was awesome. So we're encouraging all of you guys to join the conversation. Join us. Go to ndcbf.org/DiscipleLife. Go there, and we have all the resources there available that some of the things we brought up, some other things that you're going to really find helpful. We have articles there. We also have our mini documentary that we have put out to basically kind of introduce this idea and this concept of what's going on in culture and understanding that we have to start the process of discipleship now.
Yeah.
And it's an urgent message that I think you're going to really enjoy as a Christian parent or a Christian guardian. And then after you see that, you're going to want to share it and share it to other parents so we can all come together in our communities, all come together in our cities and be ready to start our discipleship process with our kids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And watch us for more. We'll be doing more videos.
Got much more coming, much more content coming. So stay tuned and subscribe on our site on ndcvf.org/DiscipleLife. At the very bottom, you will be able to subscribe, and we're going to send you directly when we introduce or put out another video or any content. You'll get it first in your email. So make sure to do that.